All right, we are live. I'm gonna start webinar. Okay, we're started. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Oops. All right. Okay, I'm gonna record right now. So everybody, welcome in. We're gonna take 1 or 2 more minutes for everybody to join in us, and we will start the session right on time. All right. Welcome in, everyone. This is Ryan from Go Elite. Today, we're very excited to welcome back immigration attorney Joyce Rho, who has been connecting with us for a long period of time and giving those webinars with us to help our students to learn more about immigration laws and also various aspects of immigration practices. So today we'll be focusing on a step-by-step guide for change of status, especially for those of you who are going to change to F1 and explore day one CPT. And whether it's starting to work in the US or continuing working in the US. And for today's session, we're going to talk about, basically Joyce, our immigration attorney, is going to go give you a guide of the steps that everybody's going to encounter when you are filing the I-539 form, basically for the change of status. And then also we're going to talk about individual requirements and also tips for change of status if you're coming from a certain type background. For example, you might be under a J background, a B visa, H1B, H2, H4, I'm sorry, and maybe an L background. So we're going to talk about all of those categories. And we're also going to have our second half of the webinar dedicated to a free Q&A session. So if you do come in with the questions, please do not hesitate to send them into the Q&A session. Our teammate is going to collect all the questions and hopefully we can answer all of them for you. If after this webinar we couldn't answer all of your questions, don't worry. You can scan the QR code. It will be present throughout the whole presentation. So you can scan the code to have one-on-one conversation with our consultant. They will be able to give you all the answers you need, or they can connect you with Joyce so you guys can connect more on legal consultations and stuff like that. So I'm going to start this session by introducing who we are. So we are Go Elite. We are located in Los Angeles. We are a professional consultant agencies in the education field. Our primary services will be Day 1 CPT University application assistance, F1 reinstatement or emergency transfer, or change of status application guides. So our mission is always to make international students' American dream come true. We are certified as the sixth AIRC certified agency. AIRC is one of the most respectful organizations in the education industry. And moving on, we're also on Google reviews. We're very happy to share that we currently have 400 Google reviews. So feel free to check us out on Google as well. And here you can find us on all the social platforms and our contact information. And without further ado, I will go ahead and let Joyce introduce herself. Hi, Joyce.
Hello, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think I had a webinar with you in February of this year. Yeah, so thanks for
Mm.
having me again today.
Thank you. Thank you for attending this webinars. And especially for today, we're going to talk about very comprehensive sharings on change of status. So we're trying to cover more range as because we see more students coming to us from different backgrounds. So thank you again, Joyce, for attending for today.
No problem. So to introduce myself briefly, as a licensed attorney in the city of State Bar in California, I'm running my own law office, Rohan Law, in located Orange County, like Buena Park in Orange County, California. And actually, I used to be an international student for so long. I went to university and law school in Los Angeles, and although I'm having a green card right now, I totally understand. How you guys are feeling, how you guys are doing to overcome each step to settle down here. So I'm hoping that I can share my knowledge, experience, expertise through the webinar with GoLead today. So yeah, Ryan briefly explained about the topic of today. I'll talk about the change of status, like a step-by-step thing, especially when you do change of status to F1 status. And I know that since we have many different type of non-immigrant status, like a B2, H1B, H4, L1. So I will try to give you some tips for different kind of classification when you do the change of status. And also want to touch some information about RFE, especially when you do change of status filing. If you see the RFE, what you're going to do, I want to provide the information as well. So this is a chart that I'm sharing with everyone, and I need to talk about the change of status. I know that you guys are having a brief knowledge about change of status, but to briefly go over this information, change of status is a procedure that you can change your non-immigrant status while you're residing in the United States. So if you are traveling outside of the United States, or if you are not staying in the United States, you don't need to think of change of status. Change of status is something that you can do while you're residing here. And to do so, you need to file Form I-539, the petition Form I-539, before the termination date of your current non-immigrant status. And this filing fee of I-539 is currently $420 if you do online filing. This price has changed very recently since April 1st of this year. So you see that like slightly increased amount compared to last year. And paper filing is $470, a little like more amount because USCIS is quite promoting that people can do online filing if they can do so. But you can choose either one, online filing, paper filing. This is amount. And processing time is very varied. So in general, I would see that takes about 3 months or can take up to 6 months. Of course, there are some cases that you can get the approval notice in a month, like if you have a slam dunk case. But in general, I do see that 3 to 6 months of processing time is quite like everything nowadays. And good thing is that you can request for premium processing by filing Form I-907, especially if you want to change your status to F1, F2, H1B, or J1, J2, you can do request premium processing. So to do that, you have to pay more fee, which is 1965. It has increased a lot since April of this year. So it costs a lot, but with this procedure, you can get the update from the USCIS in 30 days from the filing date of your Form I-35. So yes, more cost, but convenient when you need to see the like quick response.
Yeah, Joyce, I wanted to circle a little bit back
Mhm.
on the filing methods because I heard, if I'm understanding correctly, H1B to F1 specifically, is it a restrictions on the method that you file?
So the thing is that I think the USCI is still establishing the better system of a USCIS online platform. So we do see that something is missing, something is not available there. And then this is happening for the filing when you do change of status from H1B to F1 or something else. Because when you select your like non-immigrant status as a current status, when you try to submit it, there is no option like H1B, like a regular status. That's why it's very tricky. And then people are selecting to go paper filing instead of doing the online filing. But technically, if you select the first thing on the selection on online as a H1B holder, that is considered as a valid H1B holder, they can recognize it. So still, you guys can do that online filing. But I do see that because they don't want to indicate incorrect information, they go for paper filing. I see that is happening a lot.
Right. Thank you so much for the clarification because we have students coming in from an
Mhm.
H1B background and is in a very urgent cases. So I just wanted to get that information out there. So you can do online filing. It's
Mhm.
just that some people would think doing the paper filing would be safer. And then also
Correct.
keep one thing in mind is that doing paper filing actually have requires extra a bit of time.
That is correct.
All right, moving on.
Great. Mhm. So to talk about change of status to become F1 status, I think that briefly there are like 5 steps. First, you have to select your school, and second, you have to obtain your I-20, and third, you have to start like collecting your evidence to fill out form I-539. And after that, once evidence is ready, you can fill out the form and then draft the personal statement. And finally, you have to file your form and evidence timely, meaning that before the termination date of your current status. And the next page, I can talk in detail about each step. So selecting your school, I know that you guys are having a good knowledge and then information about the school in the United States. Here we do see so many reputable and then great school in the United States. I just want to mention that as I'm assuming that most of people here has at least like BA degree or sometimes master degree. So when you select your school for your future, maybe you can carefully select it by considering your educational background. Because if you had a BA degree in other country, but if you're selecting same major for BA degree, USCIS would think that this education is not that much necessary for you. So if you're choosing some program like advanced education level that is relevant to your major in BA degree, or if you select like new field of study that you never touched before, if you want to challenge for a new field of study, that also fine. So you can think of either way, like advanced education level or new field of study when you're selecting your program and school. And after that, after carefully selecting your option of school, once you choose it, now you time to obtain your I-20. And to do so, I believe that school really want to see your financial statement as the first evidence. They want to see that you have funds to cover your tuition and the living cost. So follows school's instruction and submit the financial statement. And then they can issue I-20 and then they will give you the acceptance letter as well. And after that, you also need to pay like service fee I-901, service fee online. And after that, you also need to collect some materials explaining about your academic curriculum. The reason why I'm jotting down this information one by one, A through D, is that those informations are quite like essential evidence when you prepare change of status form with USCIS. So I recommend that once you collect those things, please keep it with you so that you are directly ready for COS process. And yes, now time for collecting your supportive evidence for Form I-539. I'll talk about this evidence next page in detail, but pretty much you have to think that, oh, I need to collect the evidence about my current status. And I need to think of the evidence to prove my strong ties to my home country. These tools are very essential and very fundamental. So I hope that you can collect them when you think of change of status. And after you collect the evidence, you can start to fill out the form I-539 and then prepare your personal statement. To fill out the form I-539, already mentioned that there are 2 methods like online or paper filing. So if you want to do paper filing, you can download form I-539 on USCIS website. Make sure that you download a very recent version. Every petition has a different version, like they are updating like every quarter or yearly. So make sure that you download a very recent version on the website. Or if you want to do online filing, you can create your USCIS online account and then you can fill out the information, like click it one by one online. And for your personal statement, I recommend that you have to explain details like why you'd like to pursue education in the United States and what is your future plan after earning your new degree in certain school. So those are quite like important information you have to state. So think about the good story about your background and then your future plan. Those is quite like essential step to do so. And after you feel ready with form, petition, and then evidence and letter, you have to file those things with USCIS. You have to understand that when is your termination date of your non-immigrant status. For example, like B2 visa holder, they can find out the termination date of your B2 status on by looking at the I-94 form. It shows that when your visa status will be expire a certain date. So make sure that you have to file a change of status form before termination date of your B2 status. Uh, but like for H1B, like you do see the termination date of H1B in your petition notice, but sometimes when you experience like being laid off recently and then you have certain termination date of employment, then you have to think of the grace period, like 60 days after your termination date of employment. So make sure that when is your termination date with your employment, especially for H1B or L1 visa holder who experience being laid off. And then if you have any grace period applicable, contact like 60 days carefully so that you don't miss the termination date deadline. And here, yeah, I try to make some chart about the supported evidence. You see that number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Personal info, your current status, new school, financial status, strong ties to your home country. Those are very essential things you have to include in your package in with your Form I-539. So I recommend that, strongly recommend that include evidence for one by one, meeting each criteria. So first one, personal information means that like including your unexpired passport, visa pays, I-94 form, and then any recent notice by USCIS. Sometimes I do see some client knocking my office door and asking that, oh, I got the RFE, and then when I review the RFE letter, it is merely asking, oh, you forgot to submit your copy of passport. So people think that passport is very essential thing and that is really not necessary for this documentation, but it's like first thing you have to include it. So as a number one, personal info, put those copy as part of your evidence. And then second, you have to prove that you are maintaining your non-immigrant status validly and legally. And then for this part, I want to talk about next page because everyone has different type of classification of non-immigrant status. So I'll talk about it later. So if we go back to number 3, the about new school information is requiring the copy of I-20 fee, record of I-907, acceptance letter. Those things you are familiar with because I already mentioned in previous page, right? So once you collect everything, submit in here. And then if you got the letter by your school, like registrar, like official letter by DSO, registrar, that would be beneficial, like confirming your enrollment and what program you are, what classes were you taking, that kind of information, it will be included in this letter. So number 3, I'm sure that you guys can ready for that. And then number 4, financial statement. This is very important too, especially it was important for school as well. Financial statement proving your sufficient funds for covering tuition and living expenses. This is required. And usually the example could be like your bank account statements, or if you're doing stock, you have a managed investment, then investment statement is fine as well. Each I-20, each school has a different requirement of amount, and then that information is indicating in your I-20. So make sure that you review your I-20 and then your funds in the bank is exceed than that required amount. And the best evidence here is that I recommend that if you have a bank account in the United States, like a Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, if you do it, that bank statement is like a best evidence because it is showing like your funds in USD dollar. But if not, it is still fine. If you're submitting your bank statement from your home country, you can do so by submitting translation of that bank statement. And in case you don't have sufficient evidence under your name, like no bank account under your name, always it is fine to have your financial sponsor. So your parents, your even relatives, friends who doesn't have any relationship with you can be your financial sponsor, but they want to see that sort of affidavit of support, like that person is willing to be your financial sponsor. So prepare affidavit of support and then their information, like a copy of passport or a bank statement for sure, like full version. Then financial sponsor evidence would be acceptable by USCIS. And then last part, strong ties to your home country. This is very important thing too, but I noticed that many people are not aware of this importance yet. So as a non-immigrant status person, you have to show your intent to go back to your home country upon completing your education. This is like change of status from a non-immigrant status to another non-immigrant status. That's why USCI wants to see that you have intent to go back to your home country. So you have to show your strong ties to your home country by submitting like a written letter by your parents or spouse or friends or family in your home country. They're quite like indicating that they know your intention to coming back to home country after your education. That kind of statement is sufficient to prove this part. Or if you're maintaining your foreign residence in your home country, that is a very good evidence. So technically, if you have any official document, like if you have your home house, a real property in your home country under your name, that is the best evidence to show your intent because not so many people will be abandoned than real property or staying here and not going back to home country, right? So if you have a real property or some asset in your home country, provide that evidence. They believe that USCIS believe that you have a strong ties to your home country. And if you have any other like official document, insurance card, utility bill, or like ID by issued by government entity indicating showing your foreign residence address, that would be good evidence about this part as well. So here we are going back to number two, like evidence about your current status. And then I put the six categories here, like B1, B2, H1B, H4, and next page I put the L1, L2, and J1. So I'll go by information one by one. So for B1 and B2, you are here like temporary visa, right? To travel as a B1, B2, like you have to show that you are engaging authorized activity as B2 holder. And then authorized activity as a B2 holder means that you were traveling, you were visiting family or friends, or you're attending conference or workshop or temporary training, or if you're meeting with your potential business partner, those are considered as a approved, like authorized activity as a B1 or B2 holder. So if you had managed those kind of activity after you came to the United States, and if you have any record, like took a picture with your family, friends, or if you got the photo while you're traveling trips, or if you attend a conference, got the certification, those things, everything can be the evidence of B1, B2 activity. So to prove your current status that you're maintaining it validly, collect those evidence as much as you can, and then make some like a short report, like putting a photo in one document or make some summary about each photo or sort of like a journal, like what did you do during your stay here. So that would be good evidence to support your valid status here. And in your personal statement as a B1, B2 visa holder, I recommend that you can find out any impact or influence that you earned while being a B2 visa holder in the United States that makes you go to the school in the United States. So, for example, you're traveling, you're visiting many cities, and then you found some school, and then saw that people or friends are attending school, and then they're very passionate for education, that inspire you want to go to school. That is also a good cause to write the personal statement to apply for change of status. So think of anything that makes you go back to school while residing here as being a B2 visa holder. That would be a good evidence as part of the personal statement. And if we move on to H1 visa category, H-1B visa is like it's good visa, like you're able to work here, right? And that's why proving your employment relationship is very important as part of a change of status application. So you have to show that you've been maintaining your employment relationship with your H-1B employer. It is happening up to present time. You have to prove that. And to do so, you have to submit recent payroll certificate. Like I recommend that include up to 3 months, like in the past of 3 months in records if necessary. And then if you have an employment verification letter, and then especially if you're experiencing being laid off or you voluntarily terminate your employment relationship, get the employment termination letter indicating that the last day of your employment. So those three things are like required evidence to prove your H-1B valid status. And in personal statement, again, I recommend that you get some connection from your work experience as being an H-1B employee and your desire to go to school in the United States. So definitely you had a good background, like a good education, and you were able to obtain H-1B, and then it was a good opportunity for you to work in the United States as being an H-1B employer, but somehow certain thing you see that you're lacking, you want to pursue certain professional skill or MBA skill, you can think of like some your needs for further education while working in the United States. So find that point and then jot down that experience in your personal statement so that you can persuade USCIS officer, see that, oh, this person was working well H-1B holder, but now there is a valid reason that he is looking for future education. So H-1B, we wrap up. And then for H-4, the spouse visa, right? Spouse of H-1B visa holder. It's like another layer we have to prove, which is proof of your relationship with H-1B spouse. So that means that the reason why you're able to get H-4 visa here is thanks to your spouse employment relationship with H-1B employer, right? So you have to show that you are maintaining a marital relationship with your spouse, and your spouse is currently maintaining H-1B employment relationship. So in addition to H-1B's tips, like H-1B holders status about like recent payroll or employment verification letter or recent notice about USCIS, you also need to add marriage certificate indicating that you are a spouse of a H-1B holder. And then by putting those information, you can show that my spouse, who is H-1B visa holder, still maintaining his H-1B relationship with employer. So you have to prove it. And in personal statement, you can input information such as why you have passion to go back to school in the United States. Usually H-4 spouse follow their H-1B visa holder, and then staying here. H4 visa holder was not able to work, they quite like staying in the United States without working, right? And then when they were adopting new culture and then like observing new environment, they quite have a passion to go back to school. They found out the reason why I have to study again. So if you were feeling about it, I recommend that to write down those information in your personal statement. So you can emphasize your passion and reason for pursuing education in the United States. That's the tip for H4. And next page, L1, L2, J1. So L1 is good visa. Like a H1B, it's like your intent is allowed, meaning that you can work here temporary, but at the same time, H1B and L1, you can pursue the green card application. So L1 visa is really considered as a good one for non-immigrant status person. Here, again, just like the H-1B visa holder, you have to prove that you are maintaining valid employment relationship as being a L1 visa holder. So it's quite similar to H-1B, but again, you have to show that you've been getting payroll certificate every payroll time. So collect those information for up to 3 months and then get the verification letter and then employment termination letter, include them. And here in personal statement, I want to mention that because L1 visa holder is eligible to get the green card application, USCIS officer think that, oh, this person was able to pursue green card, but why he is going back to school? They could think of that question. I'm not saying that being L1 visa status is a negative impact for a change of status. I'm not saying that, but they could think of their L1 holder's possibility to become a green card holder. So if you can think of a good reason why you are studying in the United States, that should be included in your personal statement. For example, again, while you're working as a L1 status holder, you got some idea that what skill makes me feel professional and then growing, improving, then that point I want you to emphasize in your personal statement. Like from working experience, you got the passion for your future education. That's the key that you have to improve it. And then L2, the spouse of L1 visa holder. Again, similar like H4 status, you have to show that you're maintaining relationship with your L1 spouse. A marriage certificate is necessary, and then you have to show that your spouse, L1 visa holder, is having valid employment relationship with the L1 visa employer. So it's quite similar tips and personal statement. As I mentioned, that your intent about L1, that's the reason why to talk about this point. USCIS officer think that when L2 apply for change of status to become F1 student, they would think that, oh, the spouse who is L1 visa holder, when he has a chance to pursue the green card application in the future, this person might have intent to reside here. So they could think of in that question eventually. So I recommend you to write down your intent to return your home country upon your education completion. This section is quite like a requirement for every applicant for change of status, but especially for L2 who has high possibility to become a green card holder eventually. I recommend that you have to emphasize your intent to go back your home country after you complete your education. And then last part is J1 visa holder. And then this part, as you know, J1 has a certain condition, which is 2-year home residency requirement. It's not like happening for every J1 visa holder, but some J1 visa holder has the kind of condition requirement. So to do change of status, you are not subject of this requirement. You should not be a subject of this requirement. So you have to make sure that whether you have such requirement on your status or you are eligible for that waiver. If you look at the Form DS 2019, like a certificate of eligibility of exchange visa status, there is a section indicating that whether you have a 2-year home residency requirement or not. So make sure that you go over that information first. And then if you found out that you are under that condition, you have to go back to your home country for 2 years before coming back to United States with different kind of visa. If you're seeing that is applicable to you, then you have to make sure that whether you are eligible for get the waiver for such requirement. So getting waiver while residing in the United States is possible to do so. Many attorneys are helping for that obtaining waiver, but you guys can do by yourself, just like you're doing change of status by yourself. So you can try to waiver, but that is quite require many complex procedure that you have to follow. So usually I do see that for preparation of waiver shipment, you spend like 1 or 2 months, and then once you file it, you get the you wait about 3 months or more than 3 months to get the approval letter. So if you are thinking of change of status as being a J1 visa holder, I recommend to make an action ahead, like because we have to get the waiver if you're a subject of this condition. And then in personal statement, again, I recommend that you find some reason for studying by looking at your experience as being a J1 visa holder. Especially as a J1 visa holder, you are here to experience, to learn something, right? The purpose of visa was experiencing new culture, learning a step. So find any outcome that you earned as being a J1 visa holder, and then make some dot from that your experience and your reason to go back to school. So if you can make a good story about it in your personal statement, I think that should be enough. So this is quite like a general tips for change of status. Once you fill out the form, a personal statement, and evidence, I want to make sure that you have a translation for any evidence in foreign language. That is very important, especially if your bank statement is really written in foreign, using foreign currency, or is not using the US dollar. You have to make a calculation your funds in US dollars. So you have to keep in mind with that. And also, I recommend that you express your genuine intent to pursue your study in the United States in your personal statement or any kind of evidence. When you make a statement, you need to express your genuine intent. And then, since you have to submit your file timely before your termination date of your status, count your grace period correctly. If you have any grace period, like be careful to count them correctly. And then always don't forget have your signature on the immigration forms, especially I-539 is require your signature, I-907 if you're doing premium processing is required. And sometimes I do see that people are forgetting their signature on I-20. So that also be a problem as well. So don't forget to do signature on I-20 once you get it from school. And next page here, before finalizing our representation, I talk about RFE. RFE, I know it's very scary moment if you received RFE letter by USCIS, I understand. But RFE is like just merely a written request made by USCIS to request more information or more documentation related to your change of status application. RFE doesn't mean that your application has been denied or is going to be denied, but rather USCIS would like to review more evidence before they make a final decision about your case. So when you got the RFE letter, I know it's very nervous moment, but don't panic and just follow the instruction written in the RFE letter. And then RFE is quite different than receiving NOID. NOID is notice of intent to deny. This is more likely saying that, oh, your case is going to be denied if you do not certain thing. So NOID is more likely showing the negative impact about your case. But USCIS doesn't really send you NOID right away. They always send you RFE first if they want to see something from your side. And then once you submit RFE, if it's sufficient, that is good. It's going to happening approving your case. But if RFE is not sufficient yet, then they can send you NOID, and this is like a more scary letter. But from my experience, when I was serving many clients here, I do not see that NOID is happening unless clients really not diligently providing evidence for RFE response. So as long as you diligently answer and collect evidence for RFE, you can overcome this difficult time as well. So next page, I jot down like 5 things. The request found on RFP letter is very diverse depending on cases or depending on who is the officer of your case. So I cannot really include everything, but recently I thought that some questions are quite like repeating. So those questions are happening when like new client visit my law office and then saying that, oh, I actually filed my change of status by myself. I thought it's good, but I got the RFE, and what can I do? They come with their letter of RFE, and I noticed that it is happening first when your school will begin before your change of status is approved. So for example, you submit your change of status on June 1st. And then your I-20 saying that your school will begin like June 15, like in 2 weeks. And the USCIS, once they open your case, they notice that, oh, in the 2 weeks, the school starts, but they know that they are not able to give you approval letter before the starting date. Then they will send you RFE requesting that you have to defer the start date of your school. So that is like when you receive the letter, I know it's very difficult wording, but you just need to speak with your school to defer the start date of your program. And then the school will be able to update your I-20 and then they'll give it to you. So you can include new I-20 as a part of your RFE for this kind of question. So I see that it's happening a lot recently. And then the second, when your physical address is really far from your new school, then USCI is questioning about the commuting distance, commuting method. Like within 50 miles, they assume that, oh, people is able to drive, people able to attend it. It's quite like makes sense, but more than 50 miles, they think that they were wondering whether you are planning to move into new place or you have very genuine intent to go to this school. So technically, USCIS want to see that you really, really physically attend school in person. That's what they want to see. So in case if you receive this kind of RFE request, if you're already having a plan to move into new place, that's good. You can truthfully explain about it. If not, it happened yet, but if you were able to secure like lease agreement with the new apartment in place, submitting lease agreement, a copy of lease agreement would be a great evidence to answer this question. Or if you can show your like genuine effort to find new place, like looking up the searching engine on online to find certain property. If you can collect those record of your searching history, then that could be part of your evidence as well. So this is very important factor. I do see that nowadays. And then third one is quite similar purpose like number two, but when USCIS noticed that the letter by school is mentioning like hybrid classes, when they're saying that, oh, this person is attending hybrid classes for a certain program, then I do see the tendency that USCIS send RFE letter to students. The purpose of this question is that your CIS really want to make sure that you, as an international student, you are going to school in person, in like attending classes on campus, not really engaging online activity or remotely or studying not without attending classes. So this question I do see a lot in nowadays. And then for this kind of question, I recommend students to speak with school to find out any possible option to attend school in person. So if you can get the letter by school, like listing the classes available for you for next semester in person, that would be a good evidence. And then I hope that you can prepare like statement saying that like in-person statement, attending school in person would be more beneficial for me because I can get establish more interaction with the professor, classmate. I prefer those methods. So you have to show your intent that you are going to attend classes physically by attending on campus. So that is quite important factor in nowadays. I want you to be ready in case you got that RFE question. And the fourth one is quite like as already mentioned before, but if your document is missing translation, that is a problem. You will get the RFE, especially when your bank statement does not have US dollar in funds, then there will be a problem. So make sure that you can include every translated version of bank statement or other evidence. And the last part, your intent to return your to home country. When people didn't know about this importance and when they prepare a package of change of status, I do see that people are getting RFE for this factor a lot. So I want to emphasize again that you have to show your intent to return to your home country, and to do so, your strong ties to your home country. That was evidence to prove this part. So don't forget to include those things. So this was the last page of my presentation. I think that I was really I was feeling busy to throw out the information. So I'm sorry if I was rushing my speech
No, you're
here.
you're all good, Joyce. Thank you so much. I think we have tons of information, a lot of the
Thank you.
resources. I'm very hopeful that everybody learned a lot from today's session. So I'm gonna jump right into the Q&A.
Mhm.
We have lots of questions
Okay.
collected. So I would encourage if we could do this on the fly a little bit, faster so we could attend to more questions if it is possible. So I'm gonna read out the questions. So on
Mhm.
J1, and on OPT, F1 stamped says 212E does not apply. Does that mean I do not have to go through the residency requirements? So first of all, I do want to address that J1 and OPT seems a little bit off because OPT is more related to the F1 requirements. But I wanted to let Joyce speak into this questions.
Yeah, I was thinking same thing, Ryan. The question is quite like mingling some terms, I feel. So for this question, I mean, if 212E doesn't apply, that means that I think that you are not subject of the residence requirement. But for this question to answer yes or no, I can't really answer directly unless I review your documentation, the evidence about your status. So yeah, I recommend that if you have any question, maybe you can connect to Go Elite to find out and a possibility for the consultation.
Absolutely. You can always scan the QR code. Our consultant can connect you with Joyce if you ever need a legal consultations. So let's move on to the next one. I already have day one CBT admissions letter and
Mhm.
I-20 release for change of status. Do I opt for normal or premium processing? I think this would be more up to your selections. But Joyce, maybe you can chime in into, what are the preferences under certain situations.
Yes, as Ryan mentioned, it's totally up to applicants' decision. But if you think that your school is really starting very soon and then you don't want to miss that starting date, you don't have plan to defer the starting date, then if you don't mind to pay for premium processing, why not? You go for premium processing and then get the approval letter as soon as possible so that you can attend your school as you plan. If you don't mind to start your school right away, then and then you want to save some money by not filing premium processing, no more filing of change of status that is happening a lot. There would be no problem. So I would say it's your choice either way.
Yeah, for sure. I would say some students who come to us who want to do a change of status because they wanted to continue their jobs. For example, if you're coming from a
Mhm.
from an L1 background or an H1B, you wanted to maintain your work authorization and continue working. So in this case, some people would go for premium processing just to get their F1 and get CBT going a little bit sooner. But
Mhm.
for example, if you're coming from another background where you're in a current stage of exploration, finding jobs,
Yeah.
then some people don't need premium processing. So it would depends on your situation a little bit more. Moving on, I think we touched on F2 and F1, so I highly encourage you to, review the separate slides that Joyce actually had on F2 to F1. But Joyce, kindly share on what are the timeline for F2 to F1 or in general for change of status to get approved.
Yeah, when I mentioned that like approving time processing time of change of status was 6 to 6 months, it was quite applicable for diverse cases like from F2 to F1 or H1B to F1 is really applicable for different scenario, diverse scenario of change of status. So here I would say that 3 to 6 months, yeah, without premium processing, that's quite like general time for that.
For sure. Moving
Mhm.
on to the next question. I think this one talks more about green card processes and also OPT. So in today's session, we'll be focusing on change status. So we won't address these questions, but don't worry. Scan the QR code to talk to our consultant. We can connect you with Joyce to do a legal consultation or see what kind of information we have to help you on this. So I will skip this one. So next one, I was looking for H4 to F1 change of status. Well, universities are not supporting and giving I-20s. So stamping and border change information is needed. Sorry, I couldn't really understand this questions, but I'm thinking maybe this person wanted to just know more about whether or not stamping
Mhm.
is required, or if, for example, if the school doesn't issue an I-20 for change of status, could the person actually go out of the country to get F1 stamped and then re-enter to do this program?
Oh, yes. I don't know why school is not really supportive for issuing I-20. But to get the stamp, like when you leave the United States and then coming back after like through the embassy interview processing, you still need to get the I-20, right? So I hope that you'll be able to resolve this issue. So you actually need an I-20. Either you want to do change of status in the United States or you are traveling outside and coming back to the United States. So make sure you can get I-20. And then, yes, if change of status is not working for you, the other option is that you have to leave the United States before your unlawful presence start. And then you have to get the F1 visa interview at your embassy in your home country and then get the visa stamping for F1 status. So
Yeah,
if there, unless you can, mhm. Go
one
ahead.
thing to add is that we do see cases where students run into emergencies that they have to go out to get F1 stamping to reinstate their student status or to get into a newer school. But here's the thing, you should always consider the risk factor as well, because doing change of status application within the US is one thing, but then also going out of the country for F1 stamping, for which I assuming if you're going for day one CPT universities, there's also a certain amount of risks behind that as well. So do weigh into your, options, whether or not I wanted to leave the country, do F1 stamping, and then come back. Or do I just wanted to choose another school for change of status because I can legally remain in the US? I don't have to leave. So and do consider that in your case. And moving on, is it okay if my spouse changes employer or jobs when I have applied for change of status from H4 to F1?
Oh, so you are having H4 and then seeking change of status F1, and then you're curious whether your spouse can change her like employer as being H1B. So technically, the spouse need to do amendment of H1B, I guess, and then yes, you can do proceed with the change of status even if your spouse in need of changing their job, as long as she can do filing amendment properly. I recommend that you can update your case by submitting the notice of amendment about the spouse H1B. But yeah, the changing of job doesn't really stop you to change of status. But make sure that your spouse really keeping the employment relationship with H1B employer, like meaning that she has to maintain H1B status validly without making much gap between changing job. As long as it's happening within 60 days of grace period, it is fine. So for any update about changing of employer, you can update your case. You can submit evidence online. So you can do so, no problem.
Sure. Thank you. Moving on, is premium processing 30 calendar days or business days?
So pretty much like you can consider that calendar days. And then thankfully, when we do the premium processing, I actually see that many people are getting response in a week or in like in second next day right away. It's really, even they are saying that it's happening 30 days, the response is really happening quicker than 30 days.
Yeah, for sure. The other question is a very great question, but unfortunately is not relevant to change of status. I do want to quickly address this. So this person wanted to know about if I could change university once I pay for my CVIS fee. I think the answer is if whether or not this university have your CVIS would be the key. For example, if you haven't started CVIS transfer or if your I-20 haven't been activated, yes, you can actually change university, apply for another school. But for example, if you already transfer your CVIS to your new universities and you wanted to apply for another school, you have to tell the now school to transfer out you again to the other school. So there is some specification about this. I strongly recommend you to scan the code, talk to our consultant to see what are the better solutions. All right, moving on. is it not advisable to go from H1B to B2 or to F1 if we need some more time to look for full-time jobs in case we get laid off?
No, my advice is that you're changing your status to F1 or B2 while looking for a new full-time job is good idea. And then I think that many people are utilizing this process, especially when they are experiencing being laid off as being an H1B employee. So I do see that people are changing their status to B2. And then seeking for a new job, and then when they're ready, they're going back to H1B, or they chose to become an F1 student because they can pursue education or they can participate in the CPT. So this is like good scenario, and then I think that is happening a lot. Like many people are considering this scenario to pursue the work, to keep the education, and then to go back to H1B.
For sure. I think one thing I will add is that I ran into a case with their students that her getting approved for H1B to B2, and then she find a job again and then wanted to continue working, but that job doesn't necessarily sponsor H1B, so she have to transition back from a B2 background to an F1 once again. So I do want you to consider this. So this is not a legal advice, but it's just based on student experiences. If you're doing H1B to B2, wanting to have more time to find a job, that is totally okay. But B2 is unpredictable in terms of when are you going to get approved, because once you have the B2 visa, you are under the visitor status. And if you wanted to work again, a B2 visa can allow you to work. You can't do CPT and nothing like that. So always keep that in mind for your consideration. The next questions would be the same person asking about the 212E. I think for today, because we're not talking about visa stamping, so I don't think Joyce is the right person, or either myself is the right person to consult you with the situation. But don't worry, scan the code. We can connect you with some of the visa officers that we previously held webinars or talked to, so you can maybe consult with them regarding your current situation. And move on, how to show strong ties to home country when being in the US for a longer period of time.
Yeah, I know it's a good question. I'm sure that many people are experiencing this kind of situation. So, in that case, I recommend that you have to find a reason to go back to your home country. And then, if you look up if you have any relatives or family, parents, sibling in your home country, that could be a good reason for you to show your strong ties. Even if you are staying in the United States for so long, since you have family in your home country, that is like a main basic reason for you to go back to your home country. So I recommend that you can prepare like statement, like support statement by your family member, not like even one, like you can get like up to five or six. So if you can get the kind of personal statement from your family, that would be good. And your friends can help that as well. And then like I mentioned before, if you have any asset or if you have any official document indicating your foreign residence address, those can be evidence of your strong ties. So collect one by one. You should be creative for this kind of question.
For sure.
Mhm.
Moving on, this question could be very brief. So is personal statement similar like a statement of purpose?
Yes, pretty much same. It's like a title can be very can be different
Right.
depending on personal statement. Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on an H4 visa, I got my H20 and my position is fully funded. I need to submit bank statement. I need to mention about my spouse in the cover letter. I'm assuming that for the change of status process.
Yeah, I guess she got the for funded for her school though. She want to include her spouse as a financial sponsor, I think. I don't know. But in cover letter, definitely your spouse can be your finance sponsor who can support your living expenses. So I guess tuition is covered by school support, and then you have to prove your funds for living expenses in the United States, right? And then your spouse can be a finance sponsor for that. So you can indicate your husband name, like a passport copy, and then his bank statement and his letter as a affidavit of support. That should be enough.
Right. And the other questions, we answered this already previously. So F2 to F1 is you are submitting the same form, but once again, there's specific details that you need to pay attention to. So once we provided the recordings through your email, make sure that you review Joyce's presentations on the F2 to F1 part so you understand better about this case. And moving on, ooh, this is another longer question. So I completed 1 year OPT by the end of this year. However, I got my EAD and then is on the pending EB1 situations. I think for this kind of cases that were more concentrated on the green card situations. I don't know if this person necessarily need to do a change of status, because the person is asking, do I need to file an I-1 539 to change back to F1? So, what do you think, Joyce? I
Yeah, I do see this kind of situation recently, and then they are on the green card application process. They're almost done. They already filed I-485, and then they got the EAD card, but somehow their non-immigrant status is going to be terminated soon. So they are considering change of status to maintain your non-immigrant status. So I gave the two advice. The first, technically, once your I-485 is filed with your USCIS, you don't need to maintain your non-immigrant status separately necessary, meaning that if your H-1B status is terminating soon, and if there's no way you can maintain your non-immigrant status, you don't need to maintain it. The fact that you file I-485 USCIS, it serves, makes you have a valid status staying in the United States. But once you do not have maintaining valid status, non-immigrant valid status, that means that if your green card application is denied in the future, you have to leave the country. So this strategy is really applicable if you think that your green card application is very having a strong chance of approval in the near future. Like if you don't have any concern about green card application, then you don't need to maintain your non-immigrant status. But if we always recommend that if you should maintain your non-immigrant status separately, and to do so, filing change of status is possible. Of course, F1 is like not allowing your intent. It's like intent for studying is really not for becoming permanent resident. So it's quite conflicting with your intent to become a permanent residence by filing I-485. But I believe that UCI is really seeing entire circumstance about your case. And then if you are in this situation, and then if you file I-539, they will consider that, oh, this person is making a good effort to maintain his or her non-immigrant status validly. So I think that there's nothing to lose to file I-539 to change your status to F1. And in the meantime, I think that they receive everything is positively, and then they push the process of I-485 approval. I hope that is helpful, but it's like a choice of applicants, so it's I know it's very complicated.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing those wonderful insight, Joyce. I think we are about to wrap up. We are already at time. So I
Oh,
want to thank
yes.
everybody for coming in and sending your wonderful questions. I know we couldn't get to all of them. So if you could scan the QR code for WhatsApp or WeChat, our consultant would either answer the questions if they could based on the day one CPT situations, or we can connect you with Joyce and to do a legal consultation with her as well. If you need her assistance on doing some cases regarding changing status, let us know so we can connect you. And hopefully we can do this webinar very soon with Joyce. Today, I personally learned a lot, and thanks everybody for attending today's session. Especially thank you, Joyce, for hosting this amazing session and sharing those
No
beautiful
problem.
insights.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Feel free to contact us. We will also send you the recordings of today's session. So if you miss any part, let us know. We will be sending the recording so you can review today's session. All right, everybody, have a great night. Thank you. Thank you, Joyce.
Mhm.